Hi, welcome to the garden today. And today I'm going to be talking about gardening in clay soils. Now I don't have clay soils here, but I used to have it in the old house I lived in. And I've been in kind of clay soils most of my life. They can be a pain. A lot of them you can work through, you can plow them up, you can add a lot of organic matter to it and kind of get to where you can garden in. And then if you have like a clay loam, it's all right. But if you have that straight clay, okay, some people say Houston black, a lot of times it's more of a Beaumont clay, and those are soil series. If you want to go into, there's a web soil survey put out by USDA, NRCS, and you can go in there and you do have to draw off your AOI, and that's area of interest, and that opens up all these different reports and stuff about the soil. Now if you're in urban areas now, they have changed it. Used to they give you the old original soils, but the problem is they were bringing in a lot of soils on houses, and so it became very inaccurate. So now they just call that urban land. So that's just kind of you don't know what it is if you don't know what you brought into that field. But if you kind of bought land off to the side or out in the country, it's a pretty good way of knowing what type of soil you've got. Even if you search through there enough, it'll tell you the historical pH of the soil. What type of clay it is, and how high the water table is, and things of that nature. And one thing to remember, where I was at, there's areas that the water table is within a foot of the ground for about 15 days at least 15 days out of the year consecutively. And if it's like that, it's called a wetland, even though it never necessarily holds water, but it's always saturated. So now, when you dig, if one way to tell it, if you dig a hole, okay, and I'm digging this hole like this, if I had that clay, when I pull this stuff up, I'll pull it up and it'll all just stay in one big old block, which this has to a point. But when you try to break it up, see, this stuff all breaks up. That's what you want. If it does that, you got a fair amount of sand in it and loam, and it'll break up. Now that stuff, it might break down in clods this big. And you would spend, or I would spend, I dig a post hole with these post hole diggers here. I do just like I did. I take them up, I take a screwdriver, and I spend twice or three times as much time getting that clay off these post hole diggers so I can continue to dig the hole. And that's when we talk about the black gumbo clay. That's when it's really bad. Now that clay is pretty good if you want to grow rice, but not pretty good if you don't grow anything else. So that's kind of the clay that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just the regular clay that you get in Central Texas or any of that, but you put tight clay in a high rainfall area. Beaumont's average rainfall is 55 inches. We get about 5 inches a year. 5 inches a month. And pretty much now we do have dry spells and all that, but 4 to 5 inches is every month. We don't always get 4 inches a month, but that's what it averages. So, and we do have some times it gets kind of dry. There's even times that the bardages go dry. We had a guy that would come up from somewhere around Spearman, Texas, up in the Panhandle. He came down here, and we was in 2011 in a very major drought, and people said it was too dry to spray. And I finally said, let's go out, and we took some augers and went down there and dug down about this far, and we hit water, or hit moisture. And finally I went down, went about this far, and we actually hit water. And he said, I thought we was in a drought. And I said, we are. If you go look at that bardage, it's dry. That don't usually happen around here, And that was in Jefferson County. So there's areas like that. So if you've got that really tight clay that you can't work with, and it's just like clay, it's like modeling clay, what do you do? Well, one thing, if you got some fairly tight clay, Extension Service does recommend putting expanded shell down. The problem is they say you need about 50% shell and the rest of it being the clay. One thing you don't want to do is put sand. Sand doesn't really help the drainage, and actually makes it destroys the structure of the soil, and you kind of get, they say concrete, this makes it really hard and makes it compacted. It just doesn't work well unless you put like I say, if it's half sand or 3/4 sand, you add to it and mix it in, it works. But if you just take you go out and take some sand and throw it out there and dig it in, it's not going to help. It just doesn't. Now your mulch or your compost, that will help somewhat. But honestly, whenever I give a talk at the Master Gardeners in Beaumont, in Jefferson County, first thing I say, if you're going to garden in our area, is to do this. Come over here. You have got to get out of that wetness, okay? You got to have a raised bed of some sort. This is the raised bed I've got here. This is a cheap, dirty way to do it. It doesn't look very nice, but it works. That's not why I have the raised bed here. Raised beds also helps confine things and helps keep the weeds out to a point. I can concentrate on this while I mow around it. It's not necessarily needed. Some people will go ahead and fill these things up here and plant flowers in them. That's okay. But I want to have a very nutritious, high organic area in the middle, and that's why I do it. But when I was in Beaumont, I had to do this. Okay, now you can go with some other raised beds. The fancy ones are going to cost a couple $100, probably $150 to $200. This one here is a cheap one to do it. You get these things in here. Now I have noticed these things tend to spread out. You're probably supposed to put a rebar or something in there, keep these from moving out, or you come in here with a board and put over the top, and that would keep these boards from expanding out. That's one problem I've just noticed, not so much with this one, but with the other one. They also make good deals for fire ants. I already sprayed it once. I must do it again. Anytime you do raised bed, that is a problem with raised beds, is they do attract fire ants. Since I haven't planted anything in this yet, I will probably just use regular fire ant killer, the kind that does break down a little bit faster. They do have a fire ant killer called Come and Get It. I've gotten it from Haas Tools. It does work well. It is organically friendly. It is labeled for vegetable gardens, if I hadn't already said that. And it also, the only bad thing about it is a bait, and any bait, whenever you open it up, they start deteriorating and that bait will go rancid and it won't work on you. So if you're gonna open the bag up, try to use it all and try to get all the fire ants around your area. Don't just say, hey, I got one here, I'm gonna open it up, do it, zip it back up, and a month later try to use it again. It may not work well that way. But really, you can do raised bed. Raised bed is a must in that old tight, wet clay soil, because you'll hear all this stuff and they'll say, first off, that you must have a well-drained soil. And I talk to many people, and they'll call the office. I'm retired now, so I can talk about some of my stuff. They'll call the office and they'll say, first thing is, do you have a well-drained soil? Oh yeah, I got soil. It doesn't stand water. There's two kinds of drainage. Number one, does it stand water? That's bad. Most plants out here, even rice doesn't like standing water. It tolerates standing water, so it chokes out the competition. You can grow rice up in the field just fine, but you also got weeds. So that's why they don't do it. Actually, most of the irrigation they do on rice is for weed control. It's not to help out the plant itself. So, but you've got to get them up off. You got to get them up out of that wetness. I did notice whenever we was doing, we go out to a pasture. It'd been an old rice field, so it's got that gummy clay, because that's what you want in rice. You want that soil that can maintain that water, because you're not losing all the water all the time. So you want it to hold like a bathtub. And you have those terraces going through, the levees going through it, or you may have terraces if you're in another part of Texas, but we had levees. And the levees were this high, or this high and probably wide is that deal there. And they'd kick up these levees to hold the water in. And if they need to drain it, they'd kick the levees and let the water run out, okay? All your brush species that came in, your kind of invasive stuff like your hackberries and your tallow trees and yopons and all this other stuff, they would go right along on that levee. And in between there wouldn't be very much brush, because we're gonna have to spray the brush. Even the McCartney rose would tend to grow right along that levee. And then over time, they would kind of spread out from there. But we'd have a 20-foot tree growing on the levee, and there won't be any trees, 50 foot on either side of it. They want to have something to get up out of that wetness. That wetness will keep things from germinating. It will rot the roots. When I was in McKinney, when I was in Beaumont, that was a problem I had. Was I'd plant my tomatoes in that old gummy clay, and the roots wouldn't grow, the plant would fall over it, and they wouldn't do very good. Once I put them in raised beds, that changed everything. So if you're going to do it, You're going to be in that really tight clay. It's good if you can to till it up and then to put the mix in it, or however mix you want to do it. I'm saying go 80%, 80 to 90% soil, 10 to 20% organic matter. A lot of times stuff they do more than that. The only problem is when you do more than that, it does tend to drain maybe too well. The other problem is you have to keep adding, because your soil, it'll come to a certain level and stay there, where the other organic matter is always going to be decomposing, it's going to be shrinking on you. But you can still garden in that tight clay. You just have to get a bed of some sort. Even if it's not a constructed bed like this, you just throw up, if you got a tractor, you throw up a berm and grow stuff on that berm. That's the way you want to go with it. And if you're going to grow a tree in that stuff, you want to throw up and get a berm. You don't want to dig a hole and fill in with a bunch of good stuff, because what it's called a bathtub effect. All the water will run to that hole, and it'll stand water in that hole. You create a bathtub, and all that clay will seep out water into it, and it'll drown the roots. You want to do the opposite. You want to build that berm up, plant the tree on it, and then the tree can go up, and as it gets established, it may be able to handle those wetter soils. Now, I had a peach tree that I tried that with, and it was just, I mean, it was like this much raised, okay? And I had a downspout on the house, come right, so I dug a little trench and made that water run off, but it always stayed wet. So, put mulch on it, right? Yeah. I put the mulch down. It really made the problem worse, and it wasn't making good peaches. I don't know why. If it was a bad, if the plant got switched out or whatever. I did buy it at a nursery, but still, even then, mistakes can be made. But it almost tastes like a candy peach, and so I wasn't enjoying the peach. And what it would do, it would grow up, it might do good, but as soon as it started drying up the least little bit, it would still be wet, but it dried at least a bit, it would start dying from the tips. So one day I finally got mad. We were not even liking it. Nobody in the family likes it. So I reached down, and the trunk was that big. I reached down, grabbed it, and pulled it up. Easier than I'd pull up a weed. It had 3 or 4 little bitty roots. How it didn't blow over, I don't know, but it didn't. Another lady I know that's had the same thing happen after Hurricane Harvey. She had the plant and it survived Harvey, but then later that summer came a wind and blew it over, because it just had no roots underneath it. So that's what will happen. But if you can make a big mound, and really, the way I did it, I'd have a tree here, a tree down at the end, and we're garden in between. And that way you can plant wherever you want to in between it. You do want to build up soil on this end and on that end with good soil, so the tree doesn't shrink down into it. And you can replace with organic matter in between. That's not going to matter. But anyway, you can still garden in clay soils. It is a pain, and it's not because clay soils are bad. It's just, you know, if like I say, the further into West Texas you got, further west you go, not necessarily West Texas, but further west you go, the more you kind of want clay. But, you know, in our area, you can also have too sandy a soil too. Sandy loam is great. That's what this place is. But not everybody has that. I understand that. I gardened for years without it. You can still be successful. But to me, that's where your raised beds really shine, is when areas that you got really tight clay. You can get above that clay, they can grow above it. If they want to throw some roots in that clay, that's fine too. After time, you'll make that clay underneath it better, but you'll always have this soil up here, because all these potatoes here are going to be growing within this 8 inches. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that, talk to you about that, and I'll see you next time. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. Thank you. Goodbye.